Less than a week after it replaced the current TV channel, Al Jazeera America may not have attracted a large audience, but it's generated a lot of attention. Critics have called its fact-first attitude slow and plodding, while boosters say it's calm and comprehensive. It may be too soon to judge, but that won't stop us here. Joining me to discuss cable news' latest player, here in Washington, David Zurich, TV critic for the Baltimore Sun. And in Charlotte, North Carolina, Mohammed El-Nawawi, co-author of Al Jazeera, the story of the network that is rattling governments and redefining modern journalism. Now, before we get started, let's take a look at some interesting endorsements that Al Jazeera America played in its first moments on air.
It is really effective. And in fact, viewership of Al Jazeera is going up in the United States because it's real news.
We will connect the world to America and Americans to the world.
What Al Jazeera has done is achieve something that all of us, I think, want to achieve, and that is to make a contribution.
So, David, I got to ask you, did Al Jazeera make a contribution in its first week?
Well, it has made a contribution in its first week, and I think it'll make a big contribution, Eric, in this respect. We have had a narrowing of the conversation about democracy, especially on television, but throughout the media. We've become so sort of identified with corporate interests and with the powers that be, and I think part of that is the economic crunch we've all gone through, you know? Al Jazeera, in general, is oriented towards what's called Global South, which is the equator, people south of the equator, people who had been the victims of colonialization. Now, when you transfer that to America, you get cities like New Orleans, you get cities like Baltimore, you get cities of Detroit. Baltimore doesn't have a bureau. I'm hoping they open one soon, but the other ones do. And I'll tell you, I saw a documentary last year on Al Jazeera English on Baltimore that felt more like the city I live in than anything I've seen on American television. Wow. You know, in the Middle East, we say Al Jazeera is much more in touch with the street. Well, there's a street in America, too, that a lot of television, a lot of network, a lot of cable is not in touch with. And in their first week, their first night, I saw them. They did a story on a woman who makes coats for homeless people. You know, in America, we drive right by the home. You driving in Washington today, I say, how do the congressman and how did the president drive down this street and not see what I see today? Al Jazeera sees it. So here's my thing. You don't have to love Al Jazeera. You don't even have to like them. But if you say they shouldn't be in American homes, there's something wrong with what you're thinking about this conversation.
Now, I want to break in. I want to bring the professor in on this. Now, back in July, the Guardian newspaper published a memo that was written by a political analyst at Al Jazeera, wondering whether or not Al Jazeera America was going to distance itself from the channel's Middle Eastern roots. You've seen the channel for several days. What do you think?
I think it's definitely a needed addition to the media map in the United States, but I definitely think also that it is in kind of a dilemma. There is Al Jazeera part and there is the America part. Walking that fine line between presenting something that would be familiar to the public, to the American public, without giving up the professional standards that Al Jazeera has been founded upon, I think it's definitely something that's going to be a challenge for Al Jazeera. But to add to what David said in terms of the Global South for Al Jazeera as a philosophy is not just geographic, it's also symbolic of any marginalized group. And I think it's always a noble cause for any journalist and any network to focus on people that have been marginalized socially, economically, politically. What I want to say in this context is unfortunately, in the United States, Al Jazeera is not being judged in some people's minds by its content. It is being judged by the perception, and that's where we say the medium is the message. You know, it's not.
Professor, I wanted to break in quickly and ask you, when we talked earlier about Al Jazeera English, you talked about how it fit into Al Jazeera's overall media empire. Could you talk a little bit about the growing media empire that Al Jazeera has and how Al Jazeera America fits into it?
Well, Al Jazeera has started with one network catering to the Middle East, and that has revolutionized the professional journalistic standards in the Middle East by delving into many areas that have been considered taboo before. Since then, back in '96, Al Jazeera was just known inside the Middle East, but it has grown into a big media empire with Al Jazeera America, now Al Jazeera English before, Al Jazeera Balkans, Al Jazeera Sports. So it has been trying to kind of reach a worldwide audience with new revolutionary professional standards.
Professor, thank you very much. Once again, we're running out of time, so I'm going to thank you, David. Thank you, Professor El-Nawawi. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes, Hell War News for the 12th day of April 2016, 6016. If you're a Freemason fuck controlling opposition media. All right, well, let's just get down to business. Al Jazeera America. Yes. Bites the dust. There you go. One down. Hundreds more of these media COINTELPRO double-barrel bullshitters to go. But in Hell Wars News, this is a victory for people like me, destroying the alternative media of double-barrel bullshit. Yes, Al Jazeera's America, one of many of these organizations that indeed push the Putin propaganda. Yes, just like RT America. Hopefully they'll be next. But for now, Al Jazeera America says goodbye. Toodles to you from Hell War News. Let's just play your little goodbye sob clip here.
And so that is it for us here.
Yeah, that's it for you. See you later. Have a good day.
Literally hundreds of people here in New York, as well as
hundreds of people paid the bullshit you.
Whose mission has been to give you the very best journalism.
Yeah, the very best double-barrel bullshit.
When Rochelle and I welcomed you on August 20th of 2013.
Now you're saying goodbye. Hit the road, motherfuckers. Hit the road.
And we hope we have lived up to our promise.
No, you didn't. Bullshitters.
For those of you who have supported us.
Yeah, you're out of there. We didn't support you ever on Hell Wars and never will.
To tell your stories.
Sob stories. Yeah, see you later. Bye. Have a good life. Go bullshit to someone else. Yes, there you go. One COINTELPRO opposition, controlled opposition, bites the dust. Hopefully this will be the Alex Jones channel one day. Hell War News. I'm out of here.